Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 26 Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and this is the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds, and we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game. With me this week to talk about all the chaos is Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. I am very excited to talk Big Brother. It has been a wild week in the house. There's a lot of drama. I thought this was going to be a pretty straightforward week with T-Core as HOH, but it has not been very straightforward. So it's been very exciting.
Yes, and also joining us is Aman. How you doing, Aman?
I'm good. Excited to tank everybody's stocks. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad to be back and talking about this crazy week of this game we know and love.
Yes, and I heard everyone loved you on the slop last night, so fun to have you back.
Some revenges are best served cold. So, I'm just waiting for my day of comeuppance. And those that are involved just better watch their backs. It's fine. That's it.
Oh, boy.
That's all there is to it.
I don't know. I just like the audience also says they loved you on the slop. I don't know.
The audience is swayed, okay?
Okay.
They can't trust themselves.
Well, good to have you with us here tonight, Aman. We're here to talk through, again, everything going on this week on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. Man, they have not stopped yet. Now, Big Brother 25 was pretty much chaos all the way through day 44, and then it slammed to a halt. Yesterday was day 42. Today is day 43. So it is possible that we are about to slam to a halt. However, to this point, things have really not let up, and we have quite the week to talk through here today. So let's get to it. Melissa, what have been your thoughts so far this week?
This has been a wild week. It's like I feel like I don't understand like so many people's moves or like the way that they're reacting to things or the things that they're doing. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like none of it is straightforward. And so it's been very hard for me to like understand like what is going on. Like Angela like turning on Tucker, I guess a bit. I mean, I guess it's like turning on, but at the same time, it's like he was really one of the few people in the house that was actually like sticking up for her, even though it was kind of like, okay, the initial him using the veto on her, it was kind of like not exactly for her. It was more like he would have saved anyone on the block at that point, just to like create drama and use the veto on someone other than himself, etc. But like after that, he was telling people like, I want to protect Angela. He was the one person who brought her into that alliance when like everyone else was awkwardly silent when she was like, I'll be on the bottom, I'll do whatever. And he was like, yeah, sure. That's fine. I'm fine with that. And everyone else was kind of like, oh, okay. And he was like the one person who was actually looking out for her when he had, I mean, who knows how true this is, but he had said like, if you come after Angela, you come after me. No one else is saying that. At least he was saying it. I don't know how true it would have been, but at least he was saying it. And I really do think he would have stayed loyal to her, like, for the long term. I mean, why not?
Would
like,
he have taken her to the final two, Melissa? Was he going to make her feel that special?
I think he would have taken her to the final three, maybe.
That is not enough, Melissa.
Honestly, though, I think he might have taken her.
To feel special when they only go to the final three.
I think he might have taken her to the final two, honestly. Like, if it got down to it, let's say, for example, it's him, Joseph, and Angela. Like, I could see a situation where he's like, Angela can't win this. I'm going to bring Angela. But at the same time, I could see Tucker also saying, like, you got to beat the best. So I'm not going to take the easy way out. I'm going to take Joseph or whatever. So, okay, like maybe not. But at the same time, is anybody else going to even take her? Like they're going to get her out. Like I just don't think anyone else wants to work with her at all. Tucker wants to work with her, but I think she just can't be in a good spot. Like if she's in a good spot, she just automatically assumes the worst and thinks that she's not in a good spot or that these people must be lying to her. There's no way that they want to work with her. And so I just think she kind of self-sabotages like throughout this whole entire game and especially this week. And I thought that was wild. Then I thought the fact that I thought for sure like Tucker didn't get the AI instigator after he like revealed the Rubina thing. I mean, it's one thing to say I saw them holding hands, but it's another thing to say you should have got her out. So I was shocked by that. And like I just feel like everyone's doing, and then like he's saying he's going to give up and he doesn't win the veto, and it's like then he's like actually going to fight for it, and it's like everybody's crying about, guys, your recap about the crying wherever the episode recap that was such a great episode recap. I was cracking up because you guys were just like, I mean, it was so true though. It's like, why are these people sobbing about her winning? Like, I don't get why they're sad. They're like sad or they're happy. Like, I couldn't tell, but it was just, everything was upside down this week and it was very exciting. A great week of feeds, honestly. Like everyone was having conflicts with each other. It was like people were crying and then people were mad and then people were crying and then people were mad, and it was very exciting. So great week overall. I really don't know what's going to happen, but that's been kind of the way it's been the past few weeks, is like fun eviction nights because you really don't know who's going home. So yeah, great week.
Yeah.
It's been definitely a wild ride. I've enjoyed a lot of it. I think that we definitely have, as Melissa mentioned, like Angela to thank for a lot of it. She's like the BB battery that just like does not run out. She will find conflict where there is none. And when there's conflict slapping her in the face, she chooses to ignore it. Like it's just like a topsy-turvy type of time to watch her. So I can only imagine what it's like to live with her. And then yeah, you have someone like Tucker who's also like just spending his time in that house disturbing it. And it's like I feel like so much of this season is just about like how people can navigate someone who is just willing to disturb out in the open and be vocal with it, and how do I make that work to my advantage, or how do I quickly get them out? It's just been like sort of like just like back and forth, like back and forth, like tug of war of peace and war in this house. So yeah, it's been a lot, but oh so enjoyable.
It really has been a lot. Like I'm trying to think of like what is the most efficient way of recapping the events since the last roundtable, and it feels like ages ago. The last time we talked, Chelsie, Cam, and Brooklyn were on the block. And the vote did flip from Chelsie to Cam, but that didn't matter because Brooklyn lost the AI arena competition. And so Brooklyn went home. T-Core then won the HOH, and Cam discovered that the vote flipped on him. He was then put up on the block with MJ and volunteer again Tucker. With the right. Tucker also got the AI instigator vote and proceeded to use his power to out his own showmance, which cost him 3 allies in Angela, Leah, and MJ, who are now all still fairly locked in against him. We'll see what happens.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, how does that make any sense? Like, it's like, okay, I get that he wanted to stir up drama, or maybe it was that he wanted them to be out in the open, but like, we had been talking literally last roundtable about how he was like a cult leader and all these people were obsessed with him and they were in love with him. And it was like he just was telling them that Rubina was like his sister because he was trying to like keep them all on board. And it was like a smart strategy. Like that's very smart. Is like, if you have a bunch of people with a crush on you, don't then just be like, actually, I have no interest in you because I'm already with someone else. Like that's not a good strategy. And instead he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll just tell them I'm not interested in them and like just tell them I'm with Rubina and it's official or whatever via this instigator thing. But like That is exactly what you shouldn't be doing. You should be denying it. You should be telling them like, I don't have any interest in anyone in the house. Like, or just like, just saying like, well, no, like we're all good here. I just don't want to get in a showmance or whatever. Or like, I want to be single for a while or whatever you want to say. It just does not make any strategic sense. Like it's all like emotional. Is like, he just wanted to be out in the open with Rubina.
Yeah, also for what it's worth, like that was his explanation in the episode, but I feel like he's glossing over the you should have taken Rubina out while you had the chance part of his message, which like how does that track with I just wanted to hold hands publicly? Like that part did not need to be there.
I absolutely think it's because he just was like, oh, I think he probably just thought he could convince people with that part of the message that it actually did come from Quinn or one of the people that were like slighted by this vote. Like, I think that's
Pentagon for life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really think that that's what he was trying to do. I don't think like most of this was strategic. Like, I think he was like, okay, I'm going to have Quinn say this. Like, what would Quinn say about Rubina? Or like, what would, it's just, I don't think it's like thinking far enough ahead. That's like, he just wants to be an instigator. Like, he wants to just create chaos and fun TV, which is great. But also like, you can't really explain it.
Like, this isn't the cast for it. I feel like so many people like try to spread misinformation in the house. And I feel like more often than not, the rest of the house guests are always like, it was probably that person. And the whole house is like, yeah, it was them. It was them. It was just like, it's just like a vibe that like, permeates through the crowd. And I feel like this wasn't like, Tucker, you are the instigator as it is. So people were already going to assume that this was going to come from you. No one else in that house is really on the energy that you have right now. So I just feel like that was always going to be the case for him. And I do believe that he felt like, yeah, okay, well, this is going to make it a lot easier for me to just be able to be with Rubina, but like you still have to worry about, even if people did believe that it came from Quinn, you really can't unring the bell. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, you have already put out this message that Rubina should be gone because Rubina's with Tucker. And speaking of Tucker, he should be gone too. Like, you can't win every time. Like, yes, you've been able to do so thus far, almost. So, that gives you a little bit of confidence, but like eventually one of those comps is not going to go your way. It might happen this week. So then what? And what happens if it's you on the block or if it's Rubina on the block? Then what? Because we already know that he is hanging on by a thread of wanting to be there in the first place. So I can only imagine what like sending Rubina out and then saying, well, that's kind of your fault, will do to him as a player in this game. So definitely an interesting choice by him, but not surprising at all.
Yes. I mean, we talked last week about how this was not likely to have much impact on the game because how do you really blow up anything without people knowing that it was you? If you had the information in the first place, people usually know that it came from you. But listen, Tucker, he outsmarted us all because he blew up his own game.
Wow.
Nobody's going to suspect
3 steps
that
ahead.
Yeah.
I think
of course
it would have
he
been
knew the information that he needed to blow up his own game.
That's the rub. That's where it all comes together. I do think it would have been like I think the concept of it is kind of cool, is like having somebody say something. Like, it would be very cool if, like, for example, an alliance, like someone knew about an alliance, like for example, the Pentagon, like before that fact blew up that everyone knew about the Pentagon, like, or it would have been interesting, or the collective or whatever. It would have been very interesting to have somebody as one of the members, like disguised as one of the members in that alliance, say, I'm in an alliance with so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and we call ourselves the Pentagon or whatever. Like, I feel like that would have been pretty cool, because then there's no telling for sure who revealed that information, who is the AI instigator, like where did that come from? If the information is accurate, it would sow doubt and everyone would be like confused and not trusting anyone. And I feel like there is a way that this is a very interesting twist. I also think that the way that, which I'm assuming this is why Tucker did this, is having Leah list off all those groceries. Like, it makes it seem like you need to memorize that. And so everyone's going to be memorizing all these random like grocery items, which I think is pretty funny. Not really, it doesn't really do much for strategy, but it does make people waste a lot of time. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like the twist in general.
Yeah, basically.
So that's what Tucker did. He's on the block. Cam wins the veto. And the decision is now who goes up as the replacement for Cam. It goes back and forth, ultimately lands on Angela. So now Angela is on the block against Tucker and MJ. Now, I mentioned that Tucker lost Leah, MJ, and Angela as allies ever since outing his own showmance. That manifested with Angela as her leading a campaign to vote him out, immediately being ratted out by both MJ and Quinn to Tucker and Kimo, respectively. Tucker then confronted Angela. I have a whole thing about it from this morning in the update. She basically admitted it and said, how am I supposed to feel special when you're with Rubina? And there was this whole thing that happened. But the point is that now we are in a place with Angela on the block against Tucker and MJ. And the vote is very much up in the air with every combination right now. Basically, what we're looking at is a Tucker versus anybody vote is close. It could be 4-4. It could be 5-3 if Quinn jumps on board. It could be, if it is 4-4 and they don't feel comfortable with T-Core as the tiebreaker, it could, jump down to unanimous. But like they are close. They are 1 to 2 votes away for taking Tucker out of the game. Between MJ and Angela right now, the lean is toward MJ leaving, but there are a few influential people who are pushing in the opposite direction. One of them, Quinn, who doesn't have that much influence, but is going to be a voice in T-Core's ear, and she's somebody that is prone to flip back and forth anyway. Also, Chelsie really would prefer for MJ to stay over Angela. She's also a voice that T-Core would listen to. And with T-Core basically comes the vote. She will decide between those two. With Tucker, they could have the votes without her. But maybe not. It depends on if Quinn is willing to vote in a different direction. So that's where the vote stands right now, and it really could go in any direction right now.
Just so interesting to me because I feel like it's so indicative of like what you just said as T-Core as a player anyway. I think, this was like an interesting HOH for her to win because she was sort of sitting in a decent spot. And then, she made the decision with Kimo to flip that vote over and get Cedric up out of there. And so like having the house reeling from that, then she wins HOH. It's like, okay, now you've put yourself in the driver's seat after having pulled off this flip. And now we're in this spot where on paper, it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and get rid of Tucker because Tucker, and he's obviously winning everything. And everybody loves him. But now you've also like put this target on your back by becoming HOH and then getting rid of Tucker. Where is that target then going to land? Does it then land on like the next powerful nexus of the house, which would be you and Kimo? Or are you a savvy enough player to sort of like get out of HOH and be like, all right, well, that was not fun, guys. Thanks so much for the support. I would like to go back to being a lesser player now. Thanks so much. And I don't necessarily know if that's what T-Core is going to be able to do for right now. So it's so interesting that this vote is hinging all on the indecisiveness of T-Core at the moment. And either way, I feel like she's going to come away from this with a little bit of a strain on some person. One of the relationships is going to be strained coming out of this. And I'm like, I don't know if this necessarily had to be the way that this had to happen. Maybe you just come out full force and say, hey, Tucker is the target, guys. It makes sense for everybody. I know that we all love him, but like, look at all the competitions that he's won. Look at how proud he is to win these competitions. I think it's just a better step for all of us towards the end if he goes. Maybe if you come out with that messaging from jump, Tucker's not going to be, he might be upset about it, but like, he's not going to flip his lid. He's going to be like, okay, I get it. Like, it sucks that I'm up here, but like, I sort of get it. As opposed to flip-flopping back and forth and being like, I don't know. I don't really know who I want to put up. I don't know who my target is, even if I know who I want to put up. This is kind of weird for me. I don't know what to do. Okay, maybe I'll wait for a volunteer. Okay, now that the volunteers are coming down, I don't know what to do. It's just, it doesn't allow for the direction of the game to go anywhere, I think. And then it just leaves a lot more room for disappointment no matter what the result is. So tricky spot for her. Not enviable at all.
Yeah, I also think like just as a player, like I wish she would be more decisive about like what she's doing and kind of be like leading us in a direction. Like I just feel like I wish I knew like, okay, actually, like I was hoping for a DR or something that was like, I actually do want to get Tucker out. Like I'm telling everyone I don't know my targets or I'm doing this and that because I know that it's kind of like a risky move. But ultimately, like my desire for the week is this. But I feel like we don't even know what her desire for the week is. And we don't even know who she wants to end up working with or if she actually has any intention to get Tucker out. Like I really thought it was like when he volunteered to go on the block and it seemed like she was like, I'm going to put him up. I thought it was because she wanted him to go. But I feel like I don't really know what she wants right now. And that's kind of frustrating as like a viewer because I want to be able to, it doesn't make me think that she has great strategy or strategic chops in any way, just because it seems like she doesn't have a strategy. She's kind of just like, oh, well, this person volunteered. I'll put them up because that's an easy option, but there's no rhyme or reason to it, or there's no like ultimate goal for this week.
So yeah, I agree. I don't think there's an ultimate goal. I do think that she wanted Tucker to go. Because she didn't wait for Tucker to volunteer. She was very much like, I want Tucker to volunteer. I want Tucker on the block. And I think it was very clear that she wanted Tucker as an option to leave. The difference in T-Core's HOH reign, I think, is that she doesn't have a goal. She's put 3 people on the block that she doesn't particularly care about leaving. Like if Tucker leaves, whoops. If Angela leaves, oh well. If MJ leaves, cool. And if she doesn't push for one thing in particular, then there's no like that's just she doesn't have to deal with pushing for a thing in particular, right? Like, and because I don't think that it's necessarily like strategically oriented that she's leaving all options open, although I do think that is a strategy that you should utilize. But I think that it comes from the fact that she doesn't like having to push, even though she knows she should in moments when she needs to, like flipping the vote last week, the week before. So I think that she's just in this position where she's just leaving her options open. I think she very much did want, and because I even said this before the Sunday episode, I said, I don't think we're going to see T-Core say she wants Tucker out in a DR, but I do think she wants Tucker out. But she's just not willing to like actively say that or push for that in the same way that she would anything else. I think that also after the whole Leah not going up thing and the hug that never ended, I think she was feeling a little bit better about Tucker. But I do think that by the end of this week, she will again be in a spot where she's like, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if he leaves. But again, probably not something she's going to say out loud. And if she's faced with a tiebreaker, which I don't think she will be, I think that would be very funny. And I don't think that she would be able to vote Tucker out if Kimo and Rubina weren't on board. Or at the very least, if Kimo wasn't on board. But I do think she's open and happy for all results this week.
And that's fair, and that's a big like part of the reason as to why it is a little bit hard, especially in regards to like putting the target squarely on Tucker, is because you got one person who is like madly in love with him, and then you have another person who is madly in love with him. So it's just like you got these two Tucker angels on either shoulder telling you, oh, but Tucker this, Tucker that.
And they're like her biggest allies. Like
exactly. So it's like it puts her in a really, really tough spot. But at the same time, like, any type of like prolonged inactivity is going to mean that you were going to be the person that is acted upon. So I need for there to be more people in the house that are more self-interested like a Tucker, or just a little bit more impulsive like a Tucker, because I feel it's just right now we have like the ramrod that is Tucker in this house, and then everyone else that is like sort of like, I don't want to do that. That's too much going on at once. Let's just calm down. Let's just play a really easy game of Big Brother. Let's hold hands and let's just go through. And I'm like, that those two things can't like exist at the same time, at least in a way that's interesting for me.
That's what's very funny to me about T-Core and Kimo is that like they're posing as go with the flow players, but the reality is that they have flipped the house like 3 times over.
You might as well just go ahead and do it.
But so it's like you'd in a normal season, if this is what the case would be, it would be like, well, Tucker's the one winning the competitions, just being the person who's running things because he's a ramrod, he's just pushing things. But what's happening is that they're like bullfighters. They're like, yep, run straight at. Oh, sorry. Actually, we're not going to let you do that. We're going to make you think that you're going to be able to do that, but we're actually going to make our own decision. And it's leading to like Tucker just being led around in circles, constantly pushing for things that he's not getting, and becoming very frustrated, but then being like, but I love you guys. And it's such a weird like system of gameplay.
Yeah. It definitely is. Like, watching Tucker's journey has been interesting too, and just, today we really saw him sort of like run out a little bit of the gas, and just, I think some of the emotional toll is starting to really weigh down on him. So it's interesting to see the person that is sort of like this, at least physical force in the house. I don't necessarily know about strategy, but the physical force in the house that is like causing so much of this strife to happen. He is the very person that is like, why is nobody else playing? This is boring. I already did not want to be here. And now I'm forced to sit here with people that are just like, like it. I feel for him. So it's like, yeah, like I feel like any other season, he would be the person that like, back against the wall. Like, we want to see him push through it all. And we still want, at least some of us still want to see that. But it's just so interesting to see him be so down when he has done some of the most work in this house, at least physically. So it's interesting to watch for sure.
All right.
And like, to be fair, I think that I don't think it's a bad idea to try and get Tucker out. Like, I think that he is winning everything. Like, he's very unpredictable. I don't feel like I would know if I could trust him. I get why Angela is like, I can't trust this guy, but it's unfortunate that this is like the one time, in my opinion, that like she actually probably could trust him, and probably like that's her method of getting pretty far. But like, I want players to want to take out, like, to want to make a big move and to try and like join up with people they weren't necessarily working with to get out the big dog or whatever. But like, at the same time, it's like, Angela, like, he actually was like working with you, and he actually was like the one person who would want to work with you, and everyone else is like ratting around immediately, which sucks. And then, with T-Core, it's like, I totally get why she doesn't want to outwardly tell Rubina and Kimo, I want to get Tucker out. Like, if that's the case and she does want to get Tucker out, like, I totally get that, because they both are like, in love with Tucker, and they're not going to want to do that necessarily. Like, that would be a hard sell. But at the same time, like, as a viewer, I would like to kind of be let in on T-Core's plan, if she has one, via the DR, via camera talks, via something, like, just so that we can be on board and be like, oh, okay, she has plans. She wants to make a big move, blah, 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 versus this, like, I don't know if she actually wants to make a big move or have plans or anything. And like, that's just not as fun.
I just don't think that's who T-Core is. I don't think she is the person that's going to be like, here's my master plan, everyone. Nor do I think, quite frankly, that she has one. I think that she is just instinctually doing what seems right to her, which is, let me just get Tucker on the block in a way that doesn't get any blood on my hands. Mm-hmm. Let me also get, MJ, like, let me do the thing that has the least amount of impact on my social standing in this game, that causes the least amount of waves for me personally, that protects the people that I'm loyal to. And like, the thing is that those instincts have served her very well so far, because they're good instinct. Protect the people that she's close to, that will be loyal to her, that won't, win out from the final 9 and cause everyone else to lose the game, right? Like, so like, and also like who will listen to her, because she, like, even somebody like Quinn is a player who just kind of like listens to T-Core a lot of the time, and so you know, the blind spot might be Chelsie, but we're not really sure because we don't really see those conversations. Thanks, Big Brother. But we've seen some of them now. But it's I don't like this is the thing. I don't think we're going to get any mastermind T-Core edit because I don't think it exists. I think that she is playing in a different way. And I think we see this a lot. Like you know, I think again about Matt from last year, who, you know, was very effective in the game, but never in a conscious way. And then he gets to the end and has no idea how to explain his game.
Exactly.
So now, to be clear, I don't think T-Core is Matt, and I do think she would be able to explain her game very well. Because, you know, like when she's giving speeches to Kimo about why they need to make certain moves, like it hits. But I do think she's more of an instinctual player than like one that is again going to be like in the diary room. Like, I'm not telling Kimo this, but here's what I think.
Yeah. And not like, I just feel like, yeah, she's not a flashy player. So like, I do feel like we're not going to get like the sort of flashy gameplay that we're going to see elsewhere, you know? And I don't think that that's like a bad strategy or that it's not a winning game. Like it absolutely is a winning game. It's just, I would like personally to be let in on the fun of like what she's thinking or like just any of it, you know? It's like, I just feel like it's like, I don't know. I can't root for what she wants because I don't know exactly what she wants. And maybe she doesn't know what she wants either. I don't know. So that's the thing is we just don't know. But
I think that is definitely the key is that she doesn't know what she wants. She decides when she has to.
Yeah.
And she leaves all options open until that moment.
Right. And like you said, like, I mean, that's not entirely bad. Like, you know, you just, you make the move, like you press the button when it lights up, because you know that's the right move at the time. And you just sort of like try to make the move, like you said, that's not that like, okay, well, Tucker's gonna go up, but it's not gonna be my fault. And if he ends up out of the house, oops. If not him, then someone else that isn't really that much of a detriment to my game. But I think through all of that, not having that narrative for the house is not necessarily a good thing, because then it leads people to just come up with whatever motivations of your own that they are going to come up with, and it could land your name in other people's mouths, which we are already beginning to see. So, you know, she could come out of this unscathed, and I think most likely she probably will, but she's certainly more of a target now than she was before she won HOH, and that is that's not great.
And to be fair, she's obviously doing something right, because if everyone in the house is crying because they're so happy that she won HOH, like Congratulations. Honestly, it's like you're definitely doing something right if everybody's so happy that they have to do an entire montage and they leave out other people that were crying and happy for you. Like, and people were literally walking around following her like that, you know, just it's very good. She's obviously she's playing a good game. Don't get me wrong. And also, I think that is kind of the way that if you are in an alliance with Tucker, that's kind of the way you're going to have to get Tucker out if you want him out, is to kind of be like, oh, you volunteered? Oh, that's great. Well, I don't want you to go, but like you volunteered. It's like, we'll put you on the block, but you'll win the AI arena. And then the second he doesn't win, you're like, all right, what are we going to do, guys? And kind of scoot him out the door, because if he knows you're coming after him, it's a Quinn situation. And then you've got like the back and forth sort of battle. And, you know, that's not a great spot to be in.
I mean, nobody else could do this. Like, could you imagine if Quinn tried to do this with Tucker? Like, hey, I'm going to just need you on the block to just so you can win some stuff.
It's
also, I know you really wanted me to do a different thing, but I'm going to do my thing with the renom. And oh, you're really pissed at me. Well, that makes me so sad. Can you just comfort me for a minute? Like, Tucker was so pissed that he was ready to walk out the doors the second he heard that T-Core was upset. Like, he ran upstairs and was like, actually, it's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel this way. Like, it's wild, the hold that she has on some people in that house. And you know,
I don't know. Me and T-Core are different types of people, because if I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad for my friends to support me, whatever. But if people were that emotionally expressive and distraught that I had won in HOH, I'd be like, did y'all
Like,
not
you didn't
think
think
that I
I'd
was
win?
capable? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, it's just an HOH. I mean, thank you, but damn. Like,
Yeah, you thought I really couldn't win, that you're like sobbing about it, okay, and saying how proud of me you are. Like, you should just be generally like
you
just
never
an
win
okay.
anything. I'm so proud. I'm
Yeah.
like, shit.
So I do also want to just quickly run through that, like why basically I think Tucker should be the target this week for basically everyone. Because there has been some talk of like, well, should Tucker even be taken? Like, should Tikor even want Tucker out this week? You know, because he's a shield for her. He's so loyal to look at how loyal he is to her. And like, yes, that is true. He is loyal to her. I do think that with Tucker in the game, Tikor will probably easily make final five. Because Tucker will be winning things, protecting her. Kimo is a bigger target than her. Even Rubina would go over her because of Tucker. Like, Tucker's a great shield in that sense. The problem is that you don't know that they've made enough changes to the competitions, because just last season, Jag basically won out from Final 9, and never you never had an opportunity to take Jag out. From Final 9, we are at the Final 11. If they don't evict Tucker this week, they're at the Final 10. And they have a way harder time taking out comp threats with the AI arena.
Mhm.
So, like, it is incredibly likely, if the competitions are similar to last year, that somebody like Tucker just straight wins out from the final 10. And so what happened with Jag is that there was one week, not even a week, it was during a double eviction. There was one moment where he could have been evicted, but the problem was that one moment, his ally happened to win. And guess what happens? Even if he doesn't win out from final 10, if there's one opportunity to take him out in the future, what happens if that one person that wins is Joseph or Rubina?
Or
He doesn't
Angela.
have to win out completely. He just has to win out and get lucky on the 1 or 2 times he doesn't win. And so that is so much, that is the danger of that, I think, is not present enough in the minds of the players or the audience of how incredibly dangerous. You were at a point where you could just basically write him the check next week. That's what is possible. Now, it's also possible that the competitions are a lot more equitable and that he can't win that many and that there will be plenty more opportunity to take him out. But if I'm in that house, there's no shot I'm taking that chance, especially because there's been nothing like that for like 5 years. So, you know, I do think that, again, pretty much everybody in that house should want Tucker gone this week if they have the chance. And because here's the thing, there's a great chance that they won't have the chance.
Yep. And he's a generally likable person. Everybody likes him. Like, yeah, there's some, little scuffles here and there, but I just fail to believe that he would ever have a hard time getting anybody's vote in the end if he's sitting in the final 2. So it's just, yeah, like, if you are self-interested at all, the guy's got to go, buddy. And like, I know, like, he didn't want to be in jury, but well, girl, you shouldn't have been winning all those damn AI comps. Like, I don't know. you were the window for escape was closing, buddy, and you have gotten yourself to jury, so now you have to be here. But if he would like to stay and if he still wants to win, I'm not so sure that the wounded bird thing that's going on right now is necessarily bad for him. I think that in some ways, we've seen that strategy work for people that have been like deemed domineering presences in the game. Like, if you can put on that wounded bird strat, which I'm not saying that he is right now, like, I think today genuinely he was in his fields and just ready to go, but I think that is also just very disarming for a lot of people, and it allows people to see the chink in the armor. So if he would like to stay, which I think ultimately he will, I think that dog in him is going to come out eventually and he'll want to push it to the end, maybe cool it a little bit, maybe show that side of you that you showed today, because I think that is very disarming for a lot of people. It's kind of like what Tyler did when, like, you know, Bailey had finally won HOH and level 6 was no longer in power, and then he comes running to Bailey like, I can't believe everything I've been through over the past 2 weeks. It's been crazy. Bailey, can you believe it? And she ate it right on up. So, you know, not a bad shout for him.
And this is another way to think about it as well, with Tucker, is that, like, this is close to this is about the halfway point in the season. And there has been no opportunity to take Tucker out until maybe this week. He has been immune, except for week 1. He has been immune for 5 straight weeks coming into this week. Yeah. So if this is the one chance, the one time you can vote him out, he already has a track record of winning at least 5 in a row. He could easily do that again. And you are now, again, at the final 5, where it is, and it's way easier to win late game competitions because you're up against fewer people. You have worse competition because you've been able to take out the other big competitors. The competitions tend to get more physical. Like, there is a chance that Tucker will have been vulnerable once, twice, maybe in the entire season. Like, this is the kind of game that you are playing. You must recognize that. Yeah. So, yeah.
And you never want someone to be able to say that. It's like the trump card in every final 2-piece speech. It's like, I was never on the block, or I was, you know, I was pretty much immune for the entire time. I never had to do any work. Like, I was sitting pretty. You guys running around like chickens with your heads cut off. It's always like the perfect winning narrative. So
yeah, I mean, it's like it's really tough for me because, like, I absolutely think they should be getting him out because like we just discussed, so he could win out. And that's a very scary thought. And every year we're like, I mean, it's not only that, it's like the cult aspect of it too. It's like, imagine if we're talking about season 19 and we're like, oh, don't worry about getting out Paul. Like, obviously you get out Paul, like you need to get out Paul before. And we just kept saying that every week. But I think in this situation, like, as a viewer, I don't want him to go at all. I want him to stay longer. And I find myself like trying to create reasons, like justifying, like, oh, well, he should stay because actually he would, you know, be a good shield for them, or actually he's loyal to them, so he should stay. But like, when I step back, I'm like, why am I thinking like that? Like, because it's never been the case that like the comp threat should stay in any situation. Like, it's just, no, like, if you know, you've got to get them out.
You have to think about it in terms of, okay, he's been immune for 5 straight weeks prior to this. I have to assume he's going to be immune for another 5 weeks after this. And therefore, if I don't take Tucker out now, I can expect to play with him for another 5 weeks, where 2 to 3 of those weeks he's HOH and controlling who leaves the game. Like, that is the reality of the situation. But nobody really sees that reality because nobody understands that Big Brother the game has changed significantly with the competition formula. Now, again, there's a chance that it might be different this season, and that would be great. There's no shot you should take that risk.
Yeah. And also, like, I feel like even as an ally, like, even though there's like an argument to be made for certain people like Rubina or for T-Core or Kimo or whatever, like, or Angela even, it's like, he's an ally to you. He can help you get further in the game. Tucker's so unpredictable. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to trust what his moves would be moving forward. Like, I could see him trying to do some crazy move just to, you know, create good TV, which doesn't benefit our alliance or the game or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. It's a risk factor for sure. It's not just like, oh, he's a loyal soldier who will do whatever we say, like, and just win comps. He has his own mind for sure in the game, and he has his own way of like, this is how the game should be played. I want it to be exciting, and I want to make big, giant, splashy moves, and that's great for a viewer. But someone who's trying to be his ally, that's really difficult to play with.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the audience here, because the audience took a survey and they ranked the players from their favorite to their least favorite. Do you guys have a guess at who is the number 1 player on the board? Who is the favorite of the audience?
I'm actually
maybe T-Core?
I'm not sure. T-Core maybe. Probably maybe Tucker still. He's up there. I haven't watched the last week's roundtable, so I'm like not like as in the pulse of the crowd right now.
To be fair, neither am I. I feel like I keep getting it wrong. But I think it is T-Core. The voice of the correct people. You have see, that's the thing is I think you're forgetting a word there. So like when I'm off, it's not me who's wrong. It's the audience that's wrong.
Okay. Well then okay, fine. I will agree with Melissa T-Core.
Melissa is correct. T-Core top spot. T-Core has been in the top spot since week 2, has not faltered. She remains the audience favorite. But who's number 2? I can tell you. I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. Number 2 in week 2 was Kimo. Then in week 3 it was Cedric. Then in week 4, or sorry, I got that wrong. That was week 4. It was Cedric. Week 2 it was Kimo. I'm missing week 3, which was Brooklyn. So it was Kimo, Brooklyn, Cedric. Then last week, week 5, it was Joseph, who is now in the number 2 spot this week.
Has Joseph done anything to move himself down is the question. And I would tend to say probably not.
I feel like the Joseph Leah stuff might be turning people off.
That's fair.
And also the tent thing.
I'll say Kimo just because T-Core's in power. That's her right-hand man. So
I think Tucker. I think there's still a contingent out there that likes Tucker.
Okay.
You are both wrong.
Great.
It's Chelsie.
Okay.
Chelsie number 2. So T-Core has been on the top spot since week 2, but second place has changed and been a different person every single week since then. Chelsie is the newest addition to the second place list.
All right, chat. Who's all saying Chelsie? Like, is it why? I mean, no, I'm not trying to be like rude or anything. I honestly just like I haven't seen much from her. I think that like she's had a good week, but I feel like I'm surprised just because I don't feel like she's giving me great fun TV at this point. And maybe people don't care about that. I don't know.
I mean, I think here's the thing about people giving people great TV is that you appreciate those people. You don't always like those people.
True. That is a good point. People are probably voting in terms of like likability for this one, not just necessarily entertainment.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, the person you tend to like the most and relate to the most, and like the most is the person that you relate to the most often. And like the person that you're like, well, this is like the sane person, right? Like this is the normal person in a house full of wild, wacky characters. You know, as long as they're still giving you something, like they're not ham, then I think that you can often get a lot of stuff. But also like it's just been changing a lot, and I think a lot of it is just people moving down more so than people moving up.
Yeah, just like a revolving type deal. I think her sort of like being like in like more of an underdog position now is also always attractive to the audience.
Yeah.
Because she was sort of like the power, center of the house for quite some time, and now she's sort of been knocked off her pedestal, but is still doing relatively well. So I think that gives a lot of people a lot of momentum to root for her too.
Plus, to be fair, she is playing a smart game. Like even in her underdog position, I do feel like I think she's like got a good foothold in with people, like especially when she was kind of building bridges and making relationships with like MJ and Leah, and kind of like it seemed like she was able to influence them in all of her conversations in like a way where it was like previously they were thinking one thing and then they would get in a conversation with her, and the way that she would do like the Derek sort of move where she makes them think that these things are their idea. And I do feel like that's very impressive. I just feel like I haven't seen a ton from her, like, because this week was like a week where she didn't really need to do a ton. So I guess that's why I was surprised for this week in particular that she's in the number 2 spot. But I am interested to see how she does moving forward.
Quinn is number 3. So it is T-Core, Chelsie, Quinn. But who is at the bottom?
The bottom. I could see
Is it
Leah
still
being
Leah?
down there.
I will tell you, last week it was Cam.
Yeah, I could see Cam again, honestly.
Yeah, so could I. I'm gonna go Leah though. I'm gonna say Leah, and
You're
then
both
Cam.
wrong.
What? Is it
It's
Angela?
MJ.
What?
Oh,
Makensy at the bottom this week.
That's funny because I honestly I've been liking her more. I just feel like I think she's been trying to get more involved and more in the game, and I do kind of like her. I feel like she doesn't really have a foothold in anywhere yet, so it's been hard for her, but I do like her. I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess it's hard because I honestly like everybody who's there. So this has been one of the few years that doing this whole likability ranking has been really hard because I like everybody and there's nobody that I'm like, oh, they're obviously at the bottom.
Well, it's been all over the place. So last week, Cam was at the bottom. Makensy was second to last. This week, Cam jumped up a bit. He started getting into the game, I think, which helped his likability. So he actually jumped over both Makensy and Leah into third to last. So the list is T-Core in the number 1 spot, followed by Chelsie. Chelsie jumped up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So
wow.
Chelsie was 8th last week. She is now 2nd.
See, that's why I'm so confused. I feel like I'm like, how did this? And the chat is all saying Chelsie, 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 and I'm like, but last week, how does somebody
That's
jump?
what this season is, Melissa.
It's crazy. It's how does somebody jump from 8th to 2nd in 1 week? Where there wasn't any huge thing that happened.
Quinn was 6th last week, jumped up to 3rd this week. So big jump for Quinn as well. Tucker was 4th last week, or sorry, 3rd last week, fell down to 4th this week.
Big fall. 3rd to 4th, man.
Little bit of a fall. Bit of a fall there. Kimo was 4th last week, fell to 5th. So really, Quinn just displaced Tucker and Kimo there. And the next one, Angela. So last week it was Joseph, Tucker, Kimo, Angela, Quinn. This time around, Quinn took Joseph's place. Chelsie bumped them all down, and then Quinn jumped them as well. So Angela moves down 1 place as well, down to 6th. Joseph fell from 2nd to 7th, basically flip-flopping with Chelsie. They just traded rankings there. And Rubina fell from 7th to 8th, just behind Joseph, although it was very close. So Rubina there, still very low on the ratings. Then again, massive drop. Those were all pretty close. Massive drop before Cam, followed by Leah, followed by Makensy. That is the favorite player list.
Nice.
Okay. So yeah, it does feel like this is a story of people dropping and not so much people rising. I feel like everybody.
Basically, the only people that went up were Cam a little bit, Quinn a decent amount, and Chelsie a lot.
Gotcha.
And Joseph fell a lot, and everyone else just kind of shifted downward.
Got it. Interesting. Okay.
All right. So I also asked the audience to rate the episodes this week. Last week, they had a 7.1. This week, a 6.8. Not too far a fall. Last week had that very exciting vote flip against Cedric. This week, nothing quite as exciting, but still very solid rating considering. Usually we would, a week like this, you would not see such good ratings for episodes. In comparison, though, last season, the episodes were also a 6.8 this week. So that is interesting, and that is not accounting for the fact that the big day 44 flip is about to happen here in Big Brother 25. Actually, I'm assuming that's the case. Let me just double check. Cam's HOH reign was this week. Felicia versus Izzy. Yes, so it hasn't happened yet. So I asked the audience to rate the feeds this week. Last week, they were a 7.2. This week, a 7.1. Again, holding strong. Now, in comparison to Big Brother 25, 7.9 for the feeds. So people still enjoying those feeds just a bit more than this season. But I asked the audience to rate the season as a whole so far. Last week, 7.5. This week, 7.5. Held exactly on the dot, which is still 1 point above the 7.4 for last season at this time. So it's holding strong. I mean, last season had a very strong first 44 days. And the fact that this season has held up and is at around the same rating at this point is a very good sign, considering how dramatically BB25 fell right after this week. So if this season is able to hold any more than Big Brother 25 did, I think it's going to start seeing some real eclipsing here. But we'll see.
We shall see.
I feel like Tucker has to stay in the house for the for the danger of this season falling off to sort of like be held at bay. So we'll see, because I just don't see anybody else bringing the same energy that he does if he leaves. Maybe with the exception of Angela, but you know, Angela's Angela. So
or Quinn. Quinn's got he's bringing some entertainment.
That's true.
I asked the audience to rate T-Core's HOH reign. They gave it a 5.5. For the record, Cam's HOH reign last season was a 4.0, which was high. Let's be real. I also asked the audience to rate the AI arena twist this week. Last week, it was a 6.3. This week, 6.3. Once again, they feel pretty strongly about that at this point. The week before that, it was a 5.8. So it's gone up to a 6.3 and it's held. Last week, I asked the audience to rate the AI instigator twist. Before they saw it, what do you think this will be? They gave it a 3.8. Now that they've seen it, 4.7. Better than they thought. Not quite positive, but almost.
Yeah, I feel like it's an interesting concept, but it hasn't really done much. Although we haven't seen that much of it, I guess. But yeah, I like the idea of it. But yeah, I don't know.
It's just that Tucker, like I said, Tucker was already the instigator. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I feel like it might have been more interesting if like a side player, like someone who we didn't really hear from, became the instigator and actually used it to kind of like try and stir some stuff up. But yeah.
Okay. Well, I asked the audience who they would like to see evicted this week. Now, for the record, they have not gotten what they wanted since Kenny was evicted. They wanted MJ out when Cedric was evicted. They wanted Cam out last week when Brooklyn was evicted. This week, once again, they want MJ out. 48% said MJ. But here's the deal. 41% said Tucker. It was actually a pretty close vote.
Okay.
Yikes. I'm surprised by that. I just feel like it's like, don't we want the entertainment? Don't we want fun feeds? I don't know.
Yeah,
I would imagine it's one of two things. It would be an exciting flip, and they're perhaps worrying that this is, the last chance, and that he will then go on a comp run. And then
well, maybe. Okay, what? The audience is not in the house.
Well, and also the wanting to quit thing was pretty annoying.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was wondering if it was the wanting to quit. Like, how many of those votes came in today after seeing what we saw?
That is frustrating. I will say that. I always hate that sort of like, well, I'll just go home. I'm not gonna do. It's like, come on. I don't know.
Only 12% said Angela. Only 12% wants Angela. Angela, by far, the person that the audience wants to stay, which is unfortunate for them because.
I just feel like all of the players and all of the audience just has that "come on, grandma, let's get you to bed" energy when it comes to Angela. And that's just, it is what it is.
All right. Are we ready to rate these players then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get into it.
Let's do it. We are going to, of course, start with the person we were just talking about, Angela. Last week, Melissa, Asia, and the audience all gave Angela's 5s. I said no. She is capped out at a 4. Melissa, how are you feeling about that 5?
I don't feel so great about it, to be honest. Yeah, this has not been a good week for Angela. Like both like the fact that she's on the block, but also the fact that she like tried to go against Tucker and then got ratted out. Like it's one thing to try to go against Tucker. I think that's great. I think that's like good for her. But I think the fact that she got ratted out and the fact that she kind of didn't scope out who she was kind of talking to before she just decided like, this is it. I'm going to propose this plan. Like you have to be very strategic about that sort of thing if you know that he has little eyes and ears everywhere. Yeah, no, this has not been a good week for Angela. I do hope she stays, but not good for her for sure.
Yeah, I mean, not the worst idea in the world to try to get Tucker out, but for Angela, she is one of the few people where like, she doesn't need to care as much as most about Tucker winning out because Tucker's probably not going to take her out of the game anytime soon.
Mhm.
And let's be real, her chances of winning in the end are pretty low anyway. So just making it pretty deep in the game would be a pretty good win for her. Now, but that said, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's like how dare she? She shouldn't have tried to make a move and take control of her own fate in this game. Maybe don't do it pre-veto ceremony.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do it to a group of Quinn, Leah, and MJ.
Mhm.
There are probably better people to go to there. But yeah, definitely a bit of a mistake. And here's the thing, I think ultimately it wasn't motivated by wanting to like take her fate in her own hands. It was more motivated by
Not feeling important.
not feeling special enough.
Yeah, that's not really, I mean, you're not going to really feel special in the Big Brother house. Like you're just not, I don't know. It's just not a good week for her. And it's just, I mean, she possibly is going home this week and that's not great at all. And I mean, at this point, like if I'm anyone in the house, I'm like, I don't trust Angela. I wouldn't want to work with her. Like Tucker took her off the block. He was working with her and now she's come to us to propose getting him out. And now she's kind of like apologizing about that. And then she's like saying like, save Leah for some reason. And then she's like volunteering to go up. It's just not a good week for her. It's just not.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like she should have borrowed a little bit more of like, T-Core's book this week. Like you have a good ally in Tucker, despite what your own self-delusions might be telling you to the contrary. But also like it's still like within your interest, like your likelihood of winning the game still goes up if he goes home. So there really isn't much that you need to do. Like people are going to come to the conclusion of like Tucker might need to go if he remains on the block. As it is, you do not need to be the person, nor are you really the person capable of switching that vote up and impassioning the hearts and minds of everybody else. So I feel like she should have just laid low. But I mean, you're already in a very precarious position, and then you just made it even worse by pissing off Tucker, who could, at the very least, if he decides to like get that dog back out, win that AI, and then. Yeah, as it stands, MJ might be gone, but like again, are you going to be a perpetual pawn next week and just be brought right back up? And what happens if Tucker's in power next week? It's just you're creating more problems than there need to be, and you should have just laid low.
Her social capital was at an all-time high after the punishment, and she immediately reminded everyone why they shouldn't be friends with her, why she shouldn't win the game, and then also gave permission for why it's okay if she goes up on the block. It's a one for me.
Ooh, a one. I will give her. I'll give her a 3.
3?
Only because, yeah, she did a lot. I don't think that she's going to end up being gone this week. And I also gave her a 3 just because of the entertainment factor. And I don't think that she's completely out of this game yet. So I'll still give her a little bit of grace here. Just a little bump, just a little something.
And I'll split the difference and give her a 2.
Ooh, 1, 2, 3.
Unless the voice of the people.
And the audience will give her a 4.
Gave her. No, the audience gave her a 2.
It would have been great if the audience gave her a 4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right. Well, let's talk about Cam, because last week Cam got straight 3s. But Cam kind of woke up this week. I don't know. I feel like granted he was on the block, but he won that veto. He's off the block now, and his position has somewhat improved. Especially with him making headway with Tucker, but also being willing to vote Tucker out if he needs to. His head is in the game. He's working closely with Chelsie, which is very good for him. He's picking up Leah, letting Joseph feel like letting Joseph and Tucker both feel like they're picking him up. Quinn is still distracted with Tucker, and everything he's got going on. He's not in a bad spot, and I feel like he's kind of the Cam that we thought might be the case back in week 1. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I'm seeing glimpses of future good player Cam, and we'll see. I mean, it's not amazing yet, but I do think the fact that sometimes you just need something to go not your way in the house to then just all of a sudden you're a new player and you're not just going along with your big alliance or whatever and kind of just asleep. You kind of wake up and you see what's going on around you. So I hope that Cam continues this, and we'll see. And especially if he's working with Chelsie, I think that could be really good for him, because I do think Chelsea's a smart player. So I want to give him a 4.
4, okay.
I'm go ahead, Taran. Sorry.
Listen, I feel good about Cam. I feel like Cam, he's in a much better spot. I like that he's actively playing. I'm grading on a curve. I like my curve, and I'm gonna give him a 6.
Wow.
I like his position. I just feel like there are a couple of danger points, but for the most part, moving forward, I think he's well positioned to get into a good spot. And so with him actively knowing who he should be looking at, who he should be aligning with, and a possible group forming with Leah, maybe even Makensy if they're able to keep her around, and working closely with Chelsie, and now winning comps again, there's some potential here.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that he's becoming a little bit more of a player. I am worried that it took him getting up on the block and also almost with the vote getting flipped on him to really wake up. That's not necessarily inspiring to me, because it's well, maybe you should have been doing some work to not get on the block in the first place and not have the vote potentially flipped on you. But hey, at least he's playing now, so you got to give him credit for something. And I agree. I think that he is in a relatively decent position where he does have some options, which is more than can be said for a lot of these players. He, for all of his inaction and sort of just moping around, I think the fact that people are willing to sort of pick him up and keep him in their back pocket, I think is great, especially considering that his main power structure just disintegrated all around him. And he could have lost Chelsie last week too, and he didn't. So it's he lost Brooklyn though, so it's still he's in a tough spot still. That I think that he might need a little bit of power, or at the very least he needs someone else that he really, really is aligned with to be in power, because I want to see him actually instruct this game and not sort of let this game happen to him. So I will give him a 5.
5 from Aman. Also, I just want to say to anyone who has ever complained or thought about complaining, oh, they always rate too much the same, they're always just the same ratings all the time. I just want you to take one glimpse at the chat when I dared rate Cam 2 numbers different than Melissa did. It's insider trading, guys. It's not. What does he think? Does he even watch the live feeds? Does he have any idea what he's talking about, guys? No, I didn't buy
enough,
Cam.
guys. With the do they watch the live feeds? Do they actually watch the live feeds? Have they ever watched the live feeds? That is like the most annoying one that we get. It's like, okay, please.
Well, the audience is with Melissa again. They did give Cam a 4. So there you go.
Nice.
All right, let's move on to Chelsie. Because let me tell you, if you thought Cam's rating was wild,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I feel like Chelsie is the best player in the house right now. We've thought that before. She had a very bad week. She was getting 7s, she was getting 6s, she was getting 8s in the first week. But last week, big drop. Big drop because of the tail end of the week before. She just missed opportunities, dropped balls. It was not good. She really did not utilize her positioning. We were talking about it the whole way through. She fell. But then last week, despite being on the block, despite being in a position to almost go home, she did have the vote flip. She didn't even need to win the AA instigator because of it. And you can say, how much does she deserve this, given that T-Core was just like gung-ho about saving her regardless? But at the end of the day, that's still a relationship she had to harvest, had to like maintain and make sure that she's getting something out of it, and she certainly is. On top of that, I think that she's playing the best this week. I think that she has like some of the best grasp on the house right now in terms of where things stand and where she needs to go. She's gathering allies on one side while being brought in on the other. She's on nobody's radar to be targeted anymore, not even Tucker's. And I think that she is still, coming from behind right now, but she has a lot of potential to move forward in a solid way. And in a house where the average level of gameplay is so low that it wouldn't allow me to have any differentiation in points because it would all be 1s, 2s, and 3s, I'm grading on a curve, and Chelsea's getting a 7 from me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like lesser players in her position would have done so much worse. Like, your alliance is getting eaten up. And any other person, I feel like, might have like a bit of a volatile reaction to that and not know how to sort of like get out of this tailspin. But it seems like, even with her ending up on the block, she kind of like maintained like this cool and level-headed demeanor, because there was this narrative towards the beginning, especially when things started to take the turn on Cedric, that, this whole thing with Chelsie, like she is like the head of the snake. And I think that she really got a little lucky with the way that Brooklyn took that Cedric blindside and then being put up on the block. I think the focus being put on Brooklyn really did a really good, it was like a massive point for her image, because then everybody's focused on her, Brooklyn, as opposed to Chelsie. So it allowed for her to sort of like fall back into the fold. So yeah, considering like where like her position was at like socially in the house just a mere 2 weeks ago to now, and the fact that she is, she took that hit and is recovering so well. I mean, yeah, that's definitely the mark of someone that knows how to navigate. And like you said, Taran, like she knows the general layout of the house. And it's one thing to get blindsided and be like as the worst of it in Fessy and be like, who flipped? It's another to be like, you're in power. You didn't see the flip coming, but when the flip does happen, you're like, oh, this person, that. I know exactly what happened. Okay, how do I move on from there? Mm-hmm. That is the mark of a good player. So, yeah. Will I give her a 7? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and give her a 7. Because if I gave Cam a 5, and I think that Chelsie is still leagues better. Yeah, I agree, dogs. I agree. I think 7 is probably the way to go for sure. Yeah.
I think also, for what it's worth, like, I think she's a 7. I think she's in an even better spot if she's able to keep Makensy this week. And then an even better spot if she's able to get Tucker out this week. And so like there's a lot. It's the same thing for both her and Cam. Like there's so much potential. As long as MJ stays, Angela leaving is good for them, and Tucker leaving is fantastic for them. And so there's so much potential for them to take off right now. But it's a little early to like completely call it for them.
I mean, she did get a little lucky with T-Core winning his HOH because I don't know if Chelsea's week goes as smoothly as it is without with T-Core being in power. So we do have to give a little bit of that. But even so, like the building blocks that she is using to get back to where she was in a discreet manner is very fun to watch.
Yeah, I feel like she's had really good conversations with a lot of people this week. And I feel like she's kind of gathering up a group of people to kind of be wanting to work with her and like on her side. And I think that, you know, moving forward, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people who want to get her out, or at least there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at ahead of her, which I think is key. And I do agree with Aman that like, maybe if T-Core didn't win HOH this week, it would have been a different week for her because, you know, she's considered one of the people in that alliance. And like, it would have been an easy up. Like she would have been an easy nominee. Same with Cam, same with Quinn, whatever. It would have been an easy, like, okay, let's just like put them on the block because they were part of this thing. But the fact that T-Core and Chelsie have formed this bond, like obviously that's beneficial to Chelsie, and she's using it in the right way. And then I think, you know, the fact that she has Cam, like they obviously can work together. They're both going to be in the house next week. Like that's huge. And then, you know, the fact that she's had these conversations with Leah and MJ and kind of talking with them about things. And it seems like people like tell Chelsie things. They give her information, and maybe they shouldn't, but they do it anyway. So obviously she's got a good social game. Yeah, I think she's a 7 for me as well. Might as well go for it. So yeah.
All right. Well, the audience gave her 6.
Yep.
6 for Chelsie.
Fair enough.
All right. Let's talk about Joseph.
Oh my God. I'm so frustrated with all his his horrible reads, his horrible thoughts on his position. It's like, I just don't see like what he is seeing. Like, how is he thinking that he's like going to be America's favorite player, or that he's like, you know, he's going to be in the final 2 and this, that, and the other thing. Like, he's not doing any of that. I feel like it's like, I've been saying that, like, just, you know, watch this space. Let's see what Joseph does. But like, he's not been handling this well. He's like, working with Leah, but he also has a huge crush on her, and is just like, it's one thing if you like are interested in someone, you want to use them or whatever as part of the game. It's another thing when you're like have like unrequited love for them. Like, I don't know, it's not great for me, and I'm so confused because I feel like he's so like far removed from like what's going on in the house. And like, I don't feel like I'm even thinking about him when I'm thinking about like all these groups of people who are working together and like who's making moves. And then he sits there and thinks he's in like such a good spot with everyone. And it's like, are we missing something? I don't know. I want him to like get his head in the game because I feel like I really could see potential there. And it's like, what is going on?
Can I tell a quick Joseph anecdote here, just to sort of explain how I'm feeling about Joseph? Is that today, just a few hours ago, he was talking to Quinn, and Quinn was talking to Joseph about like, he's very excited. It's like, Joseph, this is great. I was talking to T-Core, Kimo, Rubina last night, and I feel like there's like an alliance that we can make that's like those 3 plus us 2. Like, I think this is really exciting. I think we can make something happen. Joseph goes, oh yeah, that was me. I was talking to them about like replacing Angela, and I suggested like you or Leah, and it was like probably you because you're more likely to win comps. And Quinn was like, oh, okay, yeah, but also because I'm good at the game, right? And Joseph was like, it's like, I mean, come on, I'm not that bad. He was like, you're okay. And let me tell you, this was not banter. This is an opinion that Joseph actually holds. And it was just, you could see the disappointment on Quinn's face when Joseph was like, no, I'm doing this for you. I'm letting you in. I already had this alliance that I am letting you in on. Like, this is the guy that told you about the Pentagon because he felt like he was number 5. And he is now coming to you. You already, in your mind, you're already established in this alliance. And Quinn thinks he's creating it. Why in the world are you trying to convince him that he's not? that he's at the bottom of it and that you're at the top of it. That makes no sense, Joseph. Why are you constantly telling people that you're throwing competitions, that you're going to win a jury vote against anybody in this house, that you're playing a super great and aggressive game? Like, what are you doing?
I'm just so confused as to what he thinks is happening in the house. Like, if he really thinks he's like in a really good spot, and it's like, where is that coming from? I don't get it. Like, I don't know. And it's another thing to like tell people that. Like, it's one thing to like think that you're like doing really well and you've got this, that, and the other thing, but then to like say it out loud is a whole other thing.
He's telling everyone that will listen, hey, Tucker can't win a final two, right? I wouldn't vote for Tucker in the final two. I mean, that's all he's doing is winning comps. Dr. Will didn't win any comps. Do you know who Dr. Will is? Because he didn't win any comps. I know you don't know who he is, but he definitely didn't win any comps. And you definitely shouldn't vote for Tucker. And people are talking about this. They're like, Joseph constantly talks about Tucker not winning in the final two. Like, he has the subtlety of like Pop and Paul Jackson. Like, it's
yeah, I was about to say it's giving shades of Ryan Ballantyne over explaining the damn game to people that are doing exponentially better in said game. And you know, not to play armchair Heisem here, but look, I just feel like it's just the age-old case of overcompensation. When you sense that the game is getting away from you, is far less painful to construct a narrative in your mind that puts you back in control, as opposed to facing the reality of the situation, in that there's a lot going on that you are not seeing, or that you are not a part of, or that you don't have a lot of control over. And that sucks. And that is scary. And I don't think that Joseph likes that very much, which is why we see a lot of these conversations. Now, you know, is it making him a huge target as of right now? Not necessarily. I feel like it's going to continue to wane on a lot of people if he continues to behave this way, especially when there's less people to talk to. You're not going to want to like be like, hey, having your Cheerios in the morning, and Joseph comes into the kitchen like, hey, yeah, so about my game this past couple of weeks, it's been great, huh? Like, people don't want to hear that. People don't want to be around that. So, you know, I worry for him, but you know, I'm kind of enjoying it, to be honest. Somebody in the chat was like, I stand the delusion. I kind of do too, in a similar vein to Angela. So I'm entertained.
All right. Well, the audience gave him a 5, but it's a 4 from me. What are you doing telling Leah that you would vote her out over Tucker before she's even on the block? Like,
yeah, it's a 4 for me as well. I'll
give him a 5. I laughed.
All right, let's move over to Kimo then. Kimo, I find, is in this interesting position where it feels like Kimo should be in a better spot than Tikor. Right? He's not the HOH. Right. He's not having to get blood on his hands. He knows the game more. And yet, through Tikor's HOH, all of the blame, all of any possible blame, is landing on Kimo's lap. Kimo and Rubina to some degree. Why? It makes no sense. Kimo isn't doing anything. He's done nothing wrong. And yet, he's getting so much heat. And it's, I think, because Tikor is so good at deflecting heat. But, like, it's deflecting onto him, and that's not good. Like, people like Leah. Leah's like, Kimo hates me. Joseph is being warned. Hey, Kimo's worried about you. They're all talking about like nominating Kimo, going after Kimo. If we want to break up the group, obviously we're targeting Tucker. But if we can't get Tucker, maybe Kimo, maybe Rubina. But why is Kimo there? And I think it's because, genuinely, I think a part of it is this. Like, Kimo has become like Tikor's keeper. And like he's spending all of his energy trying to like support her. And he's just letting his own game just drift away. Now he's not in like the worst spot in the world. He's still pretty decently insulated, but
Mhm.
it is key, I think, for Kimo to take MJ out this week. You know, and the problem is that obviously he needs to get Tucker out if he can. I'm meaning in place of Tucker. But now, if he is able to get Tucker out, which I don't think he even wants to anyway, his game is in a tricky spot regardless. And so it's kind of tough. He hasn't done anything actively wrong, but like, I don't know. What do you think, Melissa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised at the way that this week is kind of panned out for him. I mean, like, to be fair, he's not in danger or anything. But there is a chance that Tucker goes home, and I don't know if that's great for Kimo. Like, I do think that like we've said before, if Tucker leaves, then it does kind of open up like okay, well, I guess we need to target Kimo and T-Core. And like you're saying, Kimo then is the target. And that's not good. So I'm a little, and at the same time, I do feel like he is a bit snowed by Tucker as well. And so it's kind of like this thing where it's like, it's probably better for Kimo for Tucker to stay, but at the same time, like, he is like kind of distracted by Tucker. It's a tough one for me. I don't think he's in that much worse of a position like moving forward from last week. Like, I don't feel like I want to really downgrade his game, because I also don't feel like it's much that he's been doing. I think it's more just perception. And I don't know. This one's a tough one. I'm stuck between keeping him at his 5 or bumping him down to a 4. But I feel like it's like, he's not in danger this week. He's not playing the week wrong. He's just not in a great position coming out of this week. So I think I'll just stick with my 5.
The audience agrees, for what it's worth.
Okay.
I need my brother to stand up. I need him to stand up. I really do. Like, and look, I have been in many a situation where I have been completely hypnotized by a male of the heterosexual persuasion where nothing is ever going to happen, but for whatever reason, just that drive to impress that person is just there, you know? So like, when I tell you that I sympathize with Kimo, I really do, but it feels like so much of his energy in that house is revolving around not just T-Core, but also Tucker. The one thing that Tucker is not good at in studying for the days and the events of the house, he is helping him with. Like, what is wrong with you? What is going on? Like, you need to stand up. And so I'm trying not to be extra hard on him. But it's making me want to give him a 4. But the only thing that is keeping me at the 5 is because of the fact that, yes, he's in a decent spot. It's something, yes, some of it is his doing. Like, he and T-Core flipped the house, right? Like, they have been governing how a lot of this game has been going. So he's definitely a power player. I just don't know if he has the stuff to like really back it up in the end if he gets there and doesn't get chopped before someone like T-Core does. So I'm rooting for him. I really, really enjoy Kimo as a person, and I want to see him do well. And I'm just scared that killer instinct does not exist with him, because he is so hard-eyed right now. But I will give him the 5 for sure.
I will tell you, I was planning to give Kimo a 5 until I was reminded that he not only helped Tucker study, but Cam! No! You get a 4. Just for that. Literally just for that.
Honestly,
Wow, a 5.
All right.
Another 5.
Yeah, there was another.
Wow, another 5.
All right, let's move on to Leah. Leah's such a weird one to rate because she's very up and down as a player. It's like her strongest asset right now is the fact that she has Joseph and Quinn like pouring their hearts and games out for her. And yet, like, she's played them so well, but at the same time, she's played it so sloppily. Like, there is so much dirt that could be dropped on the two of them that, like, it seems like her hold over them is impervious, because there have been, like, some small little pokes at Quinn, like, oh, did you hear she said this a little bit of a thing about you once? And Quinn's like, that doesn't matter to me. And she's like, I would never do that. And he's like, you would never do that. But, like, I maintain, if somebody went to Quinn and was like, dude, she says you give her the ick. She hates when you're around her. She said she feels uncomfortable around you. She says that you're gross. She says you're not funny. She says you're a threat. She says she's going to put you on the block. She says that people should be targeting you. She's been saying this for the last 35 days. That's a different story. That's a different kind of poking and prodding, right? And like, that's the trail of breadcrumbs that she has left available for people to use, but they just haven't done it. And so at the end of the day, I still have to give her credit for maintaining these relationships, especially because she has started to learn to not speak so much about them, especially on a personal level. But she is still, like, revealing things Joseph is telling her to people, talking about Quinn as a target. And it's like, these are assets. Like, in the same way that Chelsie and Brooklyn took you and MJ for granted, you should be using them in the game. You should be using the fact that they're willing to throw their games away for you. And to good effect here. She stayed off the block primarily, I think, because of Quinn, at least according to T-Core. And so it's like, how do I judge that? But then on top of that, you do have the fact that she is starting to see things a little more clearly now. And it seems like she's getting into a solid place. She's no longer blinded by her own crush of Tucker because of him outing his own showmans. And so, like, her head seems back in the game in the same way that Cam's head is a little bit back in the game. And so where does she fall?
Yeah. No, I mean, I absolutely agree. Like, everything, it's up and down, but I do feel like she has this pull over people, to the point where people were fighting to not have her be the renom, which, like, I was kind of surprised by, because I felt like, oh, she doesn't really have anyone. Nope. I guess she has a lot of people. And then, you know, she's been talking more with Makensy and talking more with Angela and talking more with, so it's not just the boys. Like, she's been talking with other people in the house, and kind of, you know, people are interested in working with her. And I think that, like, I think she can be a good player. I think part of it, and to be fair, I think prior to her having this crush on Tucker, I think I saw some good strategy there. I saw some, you know, interest in the game there. And then it was kind of like, oh, this Tucker thing took over, and it was like, how do I impress him? What do I do? And now that that's over, I'm really hopeful that we can see a different player moving forward. So, you know, I don't really know yet, but for me, I do feel confident going, like, bumping her up. She has these people working for her. She has these people giving her information. She just has to use it well. So for me, I'm going to give her a 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, she did some good work yesterday and keeping herself off the block. And, you know, how much of it is the doing of other people? You know, there's definitely some conversation to be had there. I don't think that a lot of it is strictly on her. I think in like, one thing that Leah is good at is talking. And I think that she is learning when to talk and when not to talk. And when she is talking, what things to be revealing. Because I think that she just sort of has, like, that she suffers from, like, who asked you syndrome a lot of the time. And it can get her in a lot of trouble, but she did manage to keep herself off the block yesterday. So I don't know if I want to give her a 5. I'm kind of feeling more of a 4, because I feel like she's very, very messy, and I don't think that there really is any path right now for her to win this game as it stands. So it's not really looking too good for her win equity, but I definitely think that she can manage to stick around a little longer. And if she continues to learn how to cultivate the relationships that she does have, 2 of them through no real doing of her own, other than, you know, these guys just I just love her. I think that she stands a good shot at getting some more power and making a change in the game. So, excuse me, I'll give her the 4. I'll give her a 4.
The audience does agree with you, Aman. They gave her a 4 as well. I will tell you, I was tempted to go a little wild and give her 6, like Cam. But then I thought about many of the things she did this week. Like, oh, Tucker, I forgot I had that conversation about taking you out. Ooh, sorry. And the fact that she almost went on the block because she, like, for no reason tried to dunk on Quinn in that moment. And I do think that Cam has better prospects than her right now in terms of playing both sides, in terms of making fewer mistakes this week, and in terms of his ability to win competition. So I will have to keep Cam at a higher rating, but I will give her the 5.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Makensy, who also has her eyes opened, but also is on the block.
I know that's the thing is it's like, I want to give her credit being like, oh, like she actually is doing much better this week. Like I have been kind of impressed with like some of the conversations she's been having. I mean, considering that like previously she was just so far out of the loop of everything that it was like, she just didn't have a chance. Now, at least it's like, okay, let's see what we got going on here. And plus the fact that like Leah, her eyes have now been opened because Tucker, the distraction of Tucker is not there due to Tucker's own reveal, whatever. But she's on the block and might go home. She seems like an easy person to not only go home this week, but also like if she doesn't go home this week, be put up on the block over and over and over again. She just doesn't really have a foothold in the game yet. And I don't know if she'll get one. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that people aren't really picking her up as a piece because it seems like she just doesn't really have anyone. So I'm surprised that she's not an easy draw for like some sort of alliance to form, but you know, we'll just have to see. But for me, I think it's hard because it's like, I want to reward her for having her eyes open and doing, you know, a bit more this week and, you know, whatever. But at the same time, she's on the block. She's likely to go home. A lot of people want her to go home. So I think I'm going to keep her at the 3, but if she sticks around, maybe it gets higher and higher. I don't know.
Yeah. Makensy, yeah, I think she definitely from jump, it's been like sort of hard for her to really find her crowd within these people. And I think I mean, we talked about it a bit throughout this season with just like the whole thing that happened week 1 with Matt and Angela. It really like pigeonholed her into this position. And I feel like it's sort of like, it's hard to sort of come out of that when that narrative has already been thrust upon you. And I do think that there is like a bit of a defeatist attitude when it comes to Makensy. There is a lot of like, oh, woe is me. Why can't I seem to really, find my people in this house? Why am I always on the outs? And that's not necessarily attractive. I don't think that people want to be made to feel bad about the fact that you haven't been able to find out how to get in good with people. And so I feel like that is like sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. And it's just like it can be a very isolating experience on its own. I think that she's further alienating herself a lot of time. That being said, I do think that there is a lot of positive to her game as well. I feel like it's similar to Cam. There's like this, all right, got to get to it, because either it's become this perpetual pawn, which you already are, or get some power. So I really would love to see a Makensy HOH. That's what I think really needs to happen in order for her to, because I feel like a lot of times right now, what happens with Makensy is she's always an afterthought. She's always like okay, and then depending on how this is going to go out, then we'll talk to MJ about this. And that's not, if you're always in the end, where are you really in this game? And so I feel like if she is to get a good, solid HOH, I think that could do wonders for her game. I just need for it to happen. Without that, game's not looking too good for you, buddy. And I mean, it's not out of the possibility that she goes this week still too. So I will give her I'll give her a 3.
The audience also gave her a 3. I'm giving her a 2. She's the most likely person to go home as far as I'm concerned. I think she's done some good things this week, but she needs to survive if she wants to capitalize on any of it. And on top of that, I think that many of the allies that she does or maybe will have will beat her in the final 2 right now, and that's not a great spot for her. So there's still a lot of work to be done. She's on a good path, but man, she's still in a lot of danger. This rating will likely go up if she's not in danger next week, assuming she survives. Also, but let's talk about Quinn. Quinn, who has been since his fall from grace in week 3, down in the dumps. Is he on his way back up, Melissa?
Honestly, I think he is. I mean, I think at least he's been playing a bit better, and I do kind of feel like the pressure, the target, the spotlight is kind of a little bit moved off of him. I don't know if I have a lot of faith in him moving forward that like it won't go back down. But I do think he's played this week a bit better. He's not on the block. And so that's pretty good. And, you know, he's got, let's see, we've got Tucker, Angela, and MJ on the block. I don't think it really like is bad for him if any of those people go home. If anything, it's probably good. So I do think he's going to get something good for him this week. Whether he had a part of it or not, it doesn't really matter. At least he's getting something. So I think that's good. But yeah, I think like, I don't know where he goes moving forward. So I'm not exactly sure where to rate him. Last week I gave him a 3. I do think he's in a better spot this week, but I'm not sure whether it's like a 4 or a 5 just yet. I feel like I'm probably going to go with a 5, honestly, but I don't know. Maybe that's too generous.
I mean, I'm going to go with a 5. I think honestly similar with Leah, like he's on an upward trajectory, but he's still doing a lot of things where I'm just like, this is gonna blow back on you, dude. And also he's sort of like Leah, an easy person for people to throw up on the block in the world of AI arena where they need 3 nominees. And so I think that's a little bit of a problem for Quinn, but there's a path now. There's a path now for him to win the game, where last week that was looking a little trickier. But this week was a very good week for him in terms of positioning. So a bit of an improvement from my perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, sort of like Chelsie in that, like, you know, that he had like this massive target coming in, and he's done a little bit of a good job of sort of like having some recovery. Big stroke of luck in the fact that like Tucker decided to use that veto on him at the time, because that really just breathed a little bit of new life into his game. Now, I still feel like his relationship with Tucker is extremely tenuous, right? And if Tucker ends up staying this week, you know, I just don't know how much longer this sort of like stalemate can last between the two of them. And so I feel like, and the fact that Tucker could still stay, I'm like, I don't know if that's, out of all the people that are on the block, you probably need for him to go the most. And the fact that he's not going as of right now, it's making me a little worried. I don't know how much Quinn really needs to push for that to happen, though. I think that, you know, like I said, I think Tucker being on the block for everyone should be seeing that as a golden opportunity. So I don't know that he needs to really do a lot to sort of like ensure that that result comes to pass this week. But I do think that maybe that is something that he should be at least putting his thumb down on the scale for. And so I'm a 5. Is it a 4? I will give him a 5 too, because I think that like this is going to go either way coming out of this week, and that's like 5 is like the potential for that.
Wow, another 5.
The audience gave him a 5 as well. And listen,
Wow.
I'll keep the train rolling. I'm giving Rubina a 5 also. I think I was gonna give Rubina and Kimo the same rating here, except I remembered that Kimo helps people study. I think whether it's right or not, and it's really not, I do think Rubina's game was hurt a lot by the AI instigator. Um, a lot of people, specifically Leah, but like in general, a lot of people are looking at her as very connected to Tucker now,
Mhm.
and not in a good way. Not in a, like, especially the fact that this was revealed like against her will, and she reacted poorly to it, just makes it feel like Tucker is the driver in that relationship, and that's not actually the case. Like, she is actually her own player. She tries very hard to make people think that, but the AI instigator really like took away a lot of that agency, at least right now, in terms of perception. So that's not great. There's still plenty of room for her to turn that back around. Tucker could leave this week. She could do some other things, but if he doesn't leave this week, she could so easily be like a whatever it's called. She could get like hit by a stray here if Tucker wins a veto.
Collateral
You know what I mean?
damage.
Collateral damage. Thank you. So that's very dangerous. And she spent a lot of this week just like focused on her relationship.
Yeah.
Like, should I trust Tucker? Should I not? Are we real? Are we not? Are we gonna be, together forever? Is he playing me? And that has really taken away a lot of her time and energy focused on, maintaining relationships with other people. And that's a huge part of why I think she is being looked at right now by some of those people. And so hasn't been great, but also she is still decently insulated in this group. It's just that if this Cam, Chelsie, Leah, MJ maybe group comes into power next week, something like that, things could get really tricky really quickly. So I'm giving her a 5.
I'm gonna give her a 4 just because I gave her a 4 last week, and so if I give her a 5, like it's not like her game is better this week. If anything, it's worse. So to me, I agree. I think like the AI instigator thing was not good for her. And also the fact that Tucker might be going home this week, that's really not good for her. I just feel like not only that, like I guess like if Tucker goes, it's one of those things where it could go either way, where it's like, oh, well, maybe she, kind of can fade into the background and not be seen as a threat. And now she's not like tied to him.
Actually think it's good for her game if Tucker goes.
Well, yeah,
I think it's net positive.
I totally think that's a possibility. I think like at the same time, like I do feel like if he's, I guess that's true. Like if he would need to win HOH in order for her to really benefit. Because if he won just like a veto or something, like she would be taken out to like target Tucker. So I
veto
do think
or
that, like,
AI arena.
Yeah, or
like,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I am worried for her. At the same time, I also am worried for her because I do feel like she's extremely tied to Kimo and T-Core too. So I feel like it's like that's another situation where it's like, well, we could get out Rubina if we can't get out one of them or something. So she's kind of gonna get hit from all angles, possibly moving forward, no matter if Tucker stays or goes. And I do think that, like you said, she has been a little more focused on her relationship this week, with good reason, I guess, because the AI instigator and all that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but this is a game. We need to, like think about the game and be more focused, So I don't think this has been a great week for her. But I am interested to see where it goes next week, because it really everything could change next week if Tucker's gone.
Yeah, Rubina, Angela, Kimo, and Leah all need to join TA. Tucker's Anonymous. Y'all need to stand up, please.
Yeah.
Like, I just think, I think I will give her a little bit of grace here because I do think that she is sort of like when it comes to like inter-alliance relations, right? Like I feel like she does do a good job of sort of like, being her own self, being her own player. She's not just all up under Tucker all the time. She is able to see, other sides of different arguments when it comes to strategy. And it's not necessarily the best for Tucker, but it might be good for her. She's willing to have those conversations. So I do like that. But I do think at the end of the day, it's like she's always gonna ride or die for him. And I think I like all the emotion that she had when Tucker was the one to even out it in the first place. I'm like, you just gave people so much fuel to just like you gave it to them. Like everything that Tucker said, you validated it. Like if you would have like walked around like, yeah, I'll kiss and tell, me and Tucker have been, we've been shacked up a little bit, but that don't get nothing to do with the game, whatever. Okay. Like I want to see you have that energy for it. Like don't go and cry just because you think that you're being attacked for liking Tucker. Like, of course someone was going, it didn't even have to be Tucker to win the AI instigator. Somebody probably was going to say that stuff anyway, because it's obvious. Like, if you really didn't want it to be obvious, then you shouldn't be up in the HOH room doing what you do. So I'm just like, what do you want from people? Like I just, I think there is so much more game for her to play outside of Tucker being there. And it is a bit of a catch-22. If he goes, yes, that is one less shield for her, but then that opens up the game for her a lot more. And it does, I think, lower her threat level by association. But as Melissa said, yes, there is still the problem of like being in the trio that Joseph was just talking about earlier today of like needing to break up. Like, and her name was on the hit list for that too. So it's just like, I think you need to do a lot of work this week with the consideration that Tucker could go. You need to do a lot more work now in ingratiating yourself with other pockets of the house who truly believe that you are all in on Tucker. When I know that that's not entirely the case. You are your own person and you've shown that many times. So now's your chance, girl. Do it now before it's too late. Differentiate yourself. And she hasn't really done a lot of that this week. So number 4.
All right. Well, the audience was with me on this one. They gave
another 5.
Rubina a 5. Okay, let's talk about T-Core then.
Wait, when you podcasted with Heisem the other day, did you tell him that we use that soundbite for like everything?
I played it for him multiple times, actually.
Did you? I love it. I love it. Oh my God. That's fantastic. Good. Because that's like one of my favorite sound bites. Like, and not only that, like I hear it in my head when I see that we've given 5s. It's like, I'm like, wow, another 5.
He said it like during the podcast and I couldn't tell if it was the recording or
No, it was my soundbite. I played it.
Wait, really? That's so funny. Oh my God. Okay. I need to watch that.
All right. Well, I'll give you the audience's rating for T-Core. They gave her a 6. She did get a 6 last week, but Melissa, you gave her a 5. How you feeling about T-Core this week?
I mean, honestly, I feel better about her mainly because seeing the reactions of everybody and seeing how pleased everyone was that she won HOH, that really affected my view of her because I do feel like that's a very good sign. That means you've got a really great social game. She's also able to make these nominations without really getting much blood on her hands, shockingly, which I feel like is very impressive. And, she's going to get something that she wants this week. We don't know exactly what that is, but I think that she's in a good spot moving forward, especially because if people are targeting Kimo or the heat is coming on Kimo, it's not coming on T-Core, even though it probably should. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what the rating is, but I do think that like this has been a good week for her. I'm either going to go with like a 6 or a 7 because I mean, this is a good week for her and she's ending the week with people not really being mad at her. And I feel like that's huge, especially if you've got 2 people from your own alliance up on the block. Like that's impressive.
Yeah. I'm like really struggling with T-Core, ever since like the flip that her and Kimo orchestrated. I'm sort of just like, okay, so what next? What are you gonna do now? And I just feel like, as we talked about at the top of the show, it is a little the indecisiveness or the lack of planning or the intentional lack of not planning is just it is, yes, it's a bit of an intuitive way to play, but it's also a little dangerous. And so I just don't want her to sort of like get swept away with the momentum of the game because she didn't like have like the the killer instinct to say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to make it happen. So, and the fact that like her name is already floating around a little bit for next week is just a little scary. And I don't think that is like, consider like if you are HOH, you do want to come out of it clean. And I think that it's mostly clean, but not as clean as it should be. So I'm just like, oh, like winning the HOH was already like a bit of a tenuous position for you. And I don't know if you really executed it with the least amount of hiccups as possible. And so I'm a little worried for T-Core. But with that being said, I do think that she still has one of the better positions in the house. And like Melissa said, everyone's still, no one has a bad word to say about T-Core. So I don't think it's as strong as Chelsie though, so I cannot give her the 7. So I'll give her the 6 too. I'll give her the 6.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree. So I actually am not that concerned about, like, I feel like given her HOA train, it's wild that more people aren't saying her name. It's wild to me that people are saying Kimo, they're saying Rubina, they're saying Tucker, but there's nobody's saying T-Core. Like I do think that T-Core is in that like Tommy spot where like her entire alliance could crumble around her and she would remain. Like I can't see anybody voting her out. But that doesn't mean that she's like set up to win right now. And I do feel like there's a much better way to handle this HOH. And I think that she has this massive blind spot in Chelsie. And I think that if she's not careful, she is going to hand Chelsie the keys to the game. And this time, Chelsea's not going to screw up, and she's going to take hold, and she's not going to let go. And I think that's a problem. So I think it's pretty imperative for Chelsie that for T-Core that either Tucker or MJ leaves this week. I do think that Angela leaving is a bit of a miss for her. And I think that's kind of a problem. I do think she should have put Leah up. I think that was the better play. And that way she would be in a better position no matter who left, especially because she has so much trouble sort of like deciding. So, all that said, again, she's got so much going for her. So it is like this push and pull for me. And it does for me balance out to the 6 again. I can see T-Core as the winner of this season. I really can. I think she has that. We talk about the social game a lot. She has a very nurturing aura. Like she's very young. And I honestly, I've been thinking about this. Like, we sometimes talk about players that are too young. That like if they were just a little bit older, like they'd be much better. I think T-Core is one of those people. Like take T-Core's energy and social game and bring with it a bit more confidence, a bit more like conviction and like just willingness to make decisions a little quicker. And I feel like that's a really dangerous player because it's not just social game. She's very good strategically. She understands what she's not like the I'm in the diary room mastermind strategic, but she's very good strategically in terms of knowing where she needs to be positioned and being willing to make the moves to get herself into that position. It's just that she procrastinates and she feels indecisive. And if I just a little bit more of that decisiveness,
she's just non-confrontational.
Yeah, exactly.
And she's just, like, and you saying that, Taran, it kind of reminds me a little. I just started like listening to her go in my head. And you know what kind of reminds me of it? I'm not saying that like she's like this great strategic bastion, at least not yet. So there's a lot of game to be played, but I really feel like she's kind of reminding me a little bit of Kim Spradlin from Survivor. Just a touch. Just with
like a young Kim, maybe.
Yeah, like just like because Kim wasn't like an outwardly confrontational person either, but she still did have like that good lay of the island and where people were, and she knew, she would listen to people vent to her. There were many of scenes of that season where Kim was just sitting there like, Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, we should totally do this. Yep, we get it. And then she would go ahead and do something that was going to better her game and try to appease everybody. So it just like, it really feels like if there was like a little bit more drive, like you just said, there is a world in which T-Core just runs the game.
I agree. Yeah.
It's not there quite yet, and I'm just worried.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll give her the 6 as well. But I do think that it could absolutely increase next week for sure.
Where's your courage, Melissa?
I'm sorry.
Be different.
It's gone. I'm going with the crowd.
All right. Here's the deal. We got to talk about Tucker. I'm going to say it right away. He's getting a 1 from me. Because listen to me right now. Because what in the world is he doing in this position?
Yeah.
This is a guy who is playing the game on ultra easy mode. And he's losing.
That's actually a good. Like, yeah.
He should not even be on the block. He should not be on the block. He volunteered for the block. In addition to that, there should be nowhere close to votes to take him out, considering all of the people that were in his cult last week. And yet, he has chased away half the house, half of his votes, and now he is in a position where he might go home on the block, and he shouldn't be on the block. What is he doing? This is all he's doing. He literally, he could sit there and do nothing, and he would be a 5 or a 6. But because he's doing things, he's dropping his rating down every single time. And he could go home this week, and he should not be on the block. This should not be a situation that he deals with at all. It makes no sense. You should not be here. I should not be talking about you in this way.
Yeah. I mean, he volunteered to, well, first of all, his ally is HOH. So none of this should be happening, but he volunteered
to cried
go
for her and he might leave on her HOH.
Yeah. He volunteered to go on the block. He got the AI instigator thing and outed his showmance, made her cry. And then also totally destroyed the relationships he was cultivating last week with MJ and with Leah. And then he goes and is saying he's going to quit and he's done and he's not going to deal with this anymore. And he has this whole fight with Angela. And it's been a very bad week for him. It's been a very bad week. And honestly,
Melissa, do you know what he's been doing since we've been podcasting?
No, I don't.
MJ convinced him that Quinn is in a secret alliance with Cam and Chelsie, and so now he's telling Rubina he's targeting Quinn next week. You know Quinn, the one swing vote he definitely needs this week to stay. That Quinn.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. It's been a very bad week. I do hope he stays. He's a fun player to watch, but yeah, it is a 1 for me as well, unfortunately. Bad week for him. Honestly, if he just did the volunteer thing, it's okay, not great. I don't love it. It's my least favorite thing people do in Big Brother. But at the same time, okay. But the AI instigator thing, he was on the block and he goes and he loses all these allies that he purposefully was I mean, what was the point of last week being Rubina is just a sister to me, blah, blah, blah. And creating this little cult thing around him to then just immediately throw it away. It would be one thing if someone else was the AI instigator and they were the ones outing this showmance and he kind of had to just be well, it's out there in the open now, I'm just going to go with it rather than deny it. But he did this to himself. He did this to Rubina. It's so bad.
So listen, I'm not basing my rating off of that conversation. I of course don't know for sure what happened, but Jennifer in the chat is telling, and I did see some of this, that MJ said her suspicion is that the alliance is called the Ballers, which means she's just confusing it with a different alliance. The one that Tucker helped create, and he thinks it's real.
I mean, MJ. Okay, is MJ playing just like a disinformation like campaign style game?
Yes, unintentionally.
But what if it's intentional? Like, what if she is like this mastermind who's like, okay, I'm gonna sow disinformation. I'm just gonna go and create rumors and like just to create confusion. I mean, that could be a winning strategy. Good for her.
All right. Well, before Aman gives his rating, I'll let you know what the audience thinks of Tucker. The audience gave Tucker a 4.
Yeah.
Quite off of the ones. So, Aman, what do you think?
Tucker also needs to stand up. He also needs to go to his own damn anonymous. Okay, just call it anonymous. Okay. Yeah, it's been rough. I think he's crashing out. And he's been carrying the season on his back for the past few weeks. So, it is kind of hard to keep that momentum up, especially when there are so many other players that are just so passive or just unwilling to play ball with you. So I sort of get like that malaise and that fatigue after a while, and then mix in all of the emotional things that come into it. I think that he is exhausted, right? And that's real, but it's also like, suck it up, buttercup. Like, so many people want to be in the position that you are in. And again, to your credit, you've been playing a wonderful dynamic game. It's been very fun to watch. But none of that is going to matter if you have weeks like this where you go from king of the castle to right up out of here. Like it's a very strong possibility that he still goes.
What are you doing sitting and moping that Leah didn't go on the block? Leah, who is a vote this week?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't believe she didn't go on the block. You guys are playing JV. Like, this is a vote.
Yeah. He has like a very operational view of the game, and that's fine. It's just the adaptability right now doesn't seem to really be there. Like I said, he's a ramrod, so he's just going to he wants things to happen by force, and when it doesn't happen that way, it's like, okay, well, y'all don't know what y'all are doing. It's like they're just not playing the same way that you are. And that's Big Brother. That's what the game is. Your alliances and your wants and needs are not always going to coincide with someone else's. How do you meet in the middle? How do you compromise? Or how do you stay low and then like get rid of the people that are your biggest competition and making things happen the way that you want them to happen? So yeah, and it just so happens that you're also in this really weird position where the people that you are supposed to be in alliance with are still sort of like in T-Core, or sort of like, well, if you get chopped, oops, like, and that's not great, like I mean, if you're gonna have if you're gonna be a cult leader, then you need to keep your cult. Like, your cult should still be here. People should not be unsubscribing. Get your subscribers back, baby. And I don't know if I'll give him the 1. The 1 seems very, very low for Tucker. But abysmal performance this week. I'll match the audience. I'll give him a 4.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Aman crushing the hopes and dreams of anyone that wanted to buy low and sell high.
Hey, the audience also said that. So, hey, you can't be mad at me.
To be fair, a 3 is still fairly low, but not low
Listen,
enough.
I was already counting how many shares of Tucker I could buy this week until Aman said 4.
Yeah, no. Aman wasn't going to give it to you. This is about thwarting Taran. Thwarting Taran.
Hey,
Yes, it's been a season of flip-flops. I mean, Chelsie is, I think, the best buy this week. She was in danger of leaving last week. So anyone that had the fortitude to buy Chelsie made a bunch of money. And so I was going to say the same is true of Tucker. It still might be the same. It might be true of Tucker. But, of course, it comes with the risk of, what if Tucker actually goes home this week? So it's been a very interesting ride here for the Stockwatch. And that's it. That's what we have for the Stockwatch this week. So, Melissa, any final thoughts?
I'm really interested to see where the season goes. I feel like I don't personally want Tucker to go, but I do think if he goes, it could break open the season a bit more, especially if Chelsie can really find her footing somewhere. I feel like we could be seeing really good things from her, but it really all depends on who wins HOH. So I'm very excited for next week. And yeah, we'll see how everything goes.
All right. Aman.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back into the swing of BB26. I have been moving, and so I'm sure a lot of people have noticed like my new background is a little bare bones right now. I haven't spruced it quite up the way that my old one was, but it's caused me to like not really be as in depth with the feeds and everything. So this past week has been great to finally catch up, and I'm having a lot of fun with the season. It's been good. It's been, you know, it's been a wild ride. And I'm just hoping that the momentum continues and that we don't drop off like in BB25. So yeah, having lots of fun.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then this week. Of course, if you missed the slop, Aman was great on it. You should check it out. Become a patron if you want to see Aman on the slop from last night. I'll be back tomorrow morning to update you on everything that happened today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including this new instigator event that happened apparently in the form of Chelsie said she was targeting Angela. How is Angela gonna feel? I'll be here tomorrow morning to update you on all of it. And then tomorrow night, I'll be on Twitch watching the episode with all of you. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong. You can go over there, hit the follow button. You'll be notified when I go live. It's some good stuff there. And then afterward, there'll be an episode, and we'll hang out. We'll have a good time, and check it all out. Aman, what do you got going on?
You can follow me everywhere at Aman Adwin. Matt Lagoria and I have new podcast, The Diary Room, where we are trying to determine who the best North American Big Brother player is. 6 people go into each episode, only 3 come out until we get down to the wire. It's been a lot of fun thus far. Lots of cool guests. I'm sure, hopefully, Melissa and Taran will make an appearance on the show as well at some point down the line. We have lots of time. It's going to be a years-long podcast, so yeah, so that's what I've got going on as well.
All right. Well, that is it then. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Of course, you can find Melissa at It's Melissa 3As.
Yes, and if you want, that's Instagram too for the people wanting pictures of the baby.
There you go.
So
Find
yeah, I post
pictures of the baby at It's Melissa, even though it's not Melissa, it's the baby.
It's the baby, yeah.
That should be your new handle. Is It's the baby.
It's the baby. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us here today, and we will see all of you next time.
Oh God.